Fucking dumb pieces of shit.
The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Para español, marque el número 2. To talk to the Veterans Crisis Line, press 1. To connect to support for LGBTQI+ youth and young adults, press 3. Otherwise, to talk with a counselor, stay on the line or press 0. To improve 988, your call may be monitored and recorded. If you stay on the line at the end of the call, you may be invited to participate in a short survey.
Fuck
We are
you!
checking for a counselor
No!
who's available to talk. You'll hear music while we do this, and we'll give you an update in 30 seconds. You are not alone. We care.
Bullshit!
And want to support you.
Bullshit!
Someone will be with you.
Fucking bullshit! It's all bullshit!
98 Nebraska, how can I help you?
Well, for starters, I'd like you to change the bullshit on the starter of your answering machine. Second of all, I'd like you guys to stop doing things that push people to commit suicide. That would be a good start.
Okay, sir, I'm not sure what you're angry about, but I'd be happy to talk with you more about what's going on.
Yeah, because you're a talk line. You're not mandated reporters. And then you are, and then you're not, and then you are, and then you're not. You keep changing your fucking minds, and then you lie to me about the mandated
Okay, I'm
reporter
gonna let you
laws.
go. Have a good day.
Fuck off.
Reach the 988 Suicide Crisis Lifeline. Para español, marque el número 2. To talk to the Veterans Crisis Line, press 1. To connect to support for LGBTQI+ youth and young adults, press 3. Otherwise, to talk with a counselor, stay on the line or press 0. To improve 988, your call may be monitored and recorded. If you stay on the line at the end of the call, you may be invited to participate in a short survey. We are checking for a counselor who is available to talk. You'll hear music while we do this, and we'll give you an update in 30 seconds. You are not alone. We care and want to support you. Someone...
988 Nebraska, how can I help you?
Yeah, it said you guys are counselors. I'd like to know where you got trained.
Well, that's personal information. But what exactly, how can I help you today? I mean, we're short-term crisis counselors. We're not licensed therapists.
Yeah, and that's the problem with me being sent to you guys is if you are licensed counselors. The other thing is I don't need a counselor. I need a mandated reporter to do their job. Whenever I call these crisis lines, I'm told, well, we are mandated reporters, and then it's only for the elderly or children. And no, it's not. It's for the elderly, the disabled, and children. But then I have to go through that whole argument with them because people want to lie at us because there are so many disabled people in America. I get that people don't want to do their jobs for disabled people. I get it. You'll only do your jobs if somebody calls with us. And I try to get people to call with me, but that doesn't work. A lot of people that I've called on these lines, what they want to do is they want to talk over me and tell me how sorry they are. And, oh, I understand that's frustrating. And no, that doesn't get any of the information that the victim is trying to tell you actually heard. And every single service does this to us.
Go ahead.
It's frustrating.
Why don't we talk about why you're calling in? I understand that, but why don't we talk about what you're calling in about that's so upsetting?
Well, the fact that for 7 years I've been calling over and over and over again trying to get help stopping abuse, and I get blackballed by literally everyone. I get sent around in circles as a disabled person. There are laws that are supposed to protect us, and they're not being followed. And then I have to go back to the people who aren't following those laws to ask them to try following the law, please. scrubs.
Okay. I'm hearing what you're saying. It sounds like you're pretty angry and frustrated.
I am.
But I can't help you if I don't know what's going on. It looks like you've called in multiple times today. So,
Yeah, and people have talked
maybe
over
we
me
can
every single time, and that's the problem. Is that the more you talk over me, I have a communication issue, all right? The communication issue is everyone talks over me, and I do get frustrated because it's been 7 years of people talking over me, okay? I am in a state of crisis, okay? Because of abuse. I don't need to be shoved in a nuthatch or talked over. I need someone to take my fucking report. But the cops won't do that for a homeless man.
well,
I spend all of my
sorry about
time.
that with-
I spend
Yeah,
all of my. I
that's-
spend. Hold up. Let me speak. Let me speak in a human tone without being talked over, so I don't have to yell again. You have to let me finish what I am saying, or I will get. And why it is that you guys aren't under arrest. I can only imagine how many people have committed suicide immediately after getting off the phone with you guys.
So, and I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm not gonna. You've been yelling since you've called. You've
I
been
tried
screaming and
talking
yelling.
nice.
Oh, you did.
I did. I
you did
fucking
not.
did. You're goddamn right I did. Holy shit.
The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Para español, marque el número 2. To talk to the Veterans Crisis Line, press 1. To connect to support for LGBTQI+ youth and young adults, press 3. Otherwise, to talk with a counselor, stay on the line or press 0. To improve 988, your call may be monitored and recorded. If you stay on the line at the end of the call, you may be invited to participate in a short survey. We are checking for a counselor who is available to talk. You'll hear music while we do this, and we'll give you an update in 30 seconds. You are not alone. We
Bullshit.
care and want to support
Bullshit.
you. Someone will
Bullshit.
be with you soon.
We're seeing how it's all bullshit.
98 Nebraska, how can I help you?
Hello, my name is Sean, and I would like to complain about 988 Suicide Hotline pushing people to commit suicide. Having complete and total disrespect for victims who call in, talking over them, to listen to what you're saying, so we're going to hang up treatment, and that is horrible. Do you know how horrible that feels as a victim, where you're so desperate for help that you have to call suicide hotline over abuse because everybody else is just going to send you around in circles, and you line, and the person on the other line is either busy talking over you or they're getting bored, and you can hear it in their voice.
Okay. Are you wanting to talk to a supervisor about this complaint, or would you like me to take this complaint down?
I'd like to speak to a supervisor.
Okay, let me see if one is available to you. Okay, it looks like my supervisor is finding the extension for
Is what?
okay?
I couldn't hear you.
She's looking for the she's looking to find the extension to make that call. Okay?
Okay.
Alright, 1 second, Sean. Hi, my name is Julie. How can I help you?
Hi, my name is Sean Schwartz, and you can help me by doing something about 988 pushing people to suicide.
Okay. What's going on today that's, causing you to feel this way?
Well, here's the thing. I'm in Oregon where assisted suicide is legal, and I'm trying to get it legal for
Okay.
autistic people, specifically because of the way that I am treated by every single service that I go to for help stopping abuse. I'm sent to crisis lines, for Christ's sake. And then the crisis lines send me back to the people who sent me to the crisis lines to begin with. They send me around in circles. I can't be honest about the fact that I want my life to end every single moment because of abuse. And that includes by law enforcement. It's not okay to bully people until they commit suicide. And it's not okay to
No,
force
it's
somebody
not,
who is
right?
being bullied to go to suicide hotline to turn in the bullies. I'm trying to turn in people who are hurting me, who are threatening to kill me and my friends and family, who have assaulted me repeatedly and stalked me everywhere I go because I'm an at-risk adult and I'm easy to do it to. Meanwhile, I'm also homeless, so I have to deal with people's bias and assumptions about the homeless. And I'm sorry for getting loud about this, but people pretend like I'm some sort of a bad person because I don't want to be talked over. I used to do this exact job in Colorado, except I was street outreach, and I had to listen to people. I didn't get the opportunity to just hang up when they were yelling, when they were frustrated. I didn't have the opportunity to abuse them over the telephone because some of them were a lot bigger than me and would have knocked me the fuck out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like you've been on both sides of the field, like in,
I'm stuck
in the
homeless.
crisis side and...
I'm stuck homeless.
What was that?
The crisis thing is always
Okay.
because we're being abused. That's always the reason that an autistic person is in crisis. We're being abused, most likely financially as well as neglect, and often physically and sexually. We are almost 30 times more likely to be physically assaulted by our parents. We're almost as likely to be assaulted in public. Because we're annoying. People don't like blunt, they don't like honest. Everybody takes it as a personal insult today. It's not an insult for me to say that somebody did something wrong. And mandated reporters in the state of Oregon not doing their jobs is only a $600 fine. In the state of Nebraska, it's over $1,000 plus between 6 months and a year in jail. I can't remember if it's Colorado or Nebraska that has that law. So every single mandated reporter that I went to tell them about the abuse, the threats, the harassment, the assaults, people threatening to kill me and threatening to kill my friends and family, every single one of them who pawned me off onto another agency broke the law.
As far as what you would, what the mandated reporters would need to report, are you wanting to report it in all the states or just one of the states? What does that look like?
I have to be able to get someone to look at it because of my disabilities. When I try to turn it in, I'm talked over, and I just have to keep on fighting to try to get heard. It does need to be looked at and heard in all, well, I'd say all 50 states because it does affect all of us. I've been blown off by police from one end of the country to the other when trying to turn in abuse. People don't understand how horrible and petty people get when you're harmed over crimes you didn't commit and you're never allowed a day in court. When police officers just assume your guilt because you're the one with a penis, or police officers just assume your guilt because, lo and behold, somebody wants to pretend like you might be a bad guy, like you might hurt them. And that's the problem. Every time I turn in my predators, I'm given the runaround. And then my predators get away with doing things to me over and over and over again. I have a stuttering issue, so I can barely speak most days. I have back issues, so I can barely walk most days. I have severe PTSD from long-term abuse, and that includes by law enforcement. And please give me a moment. I got to catch my breath. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Take your time.
A lot of the people that I tried to turn in, I was given the mentally ill treatment, where they, instead of doing their jobs as mandated reporters, they want to make you jump through the hoops, not look at any of the paperwork that you got. They want to try to have you jump through a bunch of hoops again. We're going to make you jump through the mental health thing. We're going to make you get into housing, and then you're going to continue going to mental health, but you still don't have anyone that you can go to when a crime is committed. So when a crime is committed against me, I have to call a bunch of places that are going to blow me off. A lot of the places that I called wanted to tell me that they're not mandated reporters when I was literally sent to them as mandated reporters. I can't turn off the abuse, and I also can't stop the abuse that I have to take because I am an at-risk and vulnerable adult out on the streets. I can't physically take care of myself, and because of the sheer quantity of harassment that I get on the phone and in person, I can't defend myself. I can't function as a human being. And instead of my friends and family recognizing that, they chose that as an opportunity to take advantage of me because I have a disability income. They promised to help me to turn it in. And for months and months and months, they didn't. When a crime is committed against me, I have to turn it in right away. But if I turn it in right away to police, I'm abused by police who take it as a joke.
Yeah. It sounds like you're not being heard, and I hear that you're being passed around to a bunch of different agencies and no one's willing to help you.
There's a woman named Leslie Snell. Her husband, Clint Snell, and his brother, and a man named Chris Kurth threatened to kill me in 2018 at the very beginning. And I have tried to turn that in for the last 6 years to Scott DaCosta, the sheriff of Dual County. Now, there's a bunch of names of people that committed crimes against me that are in law enforcement, and the majority of those names that I can tell you right now are specifically, I'm telling you them because I have evidence that I tried to turn them in, evidence that I was blown off, and evidence that they got locked up, put in prison or jail for doing those things to others. The mentally ill tag was used as an excuse to talk over me. Now, Scott DaCosta in Dual County has so far gotten away with everything that he's done to prevent me from turning him in, including me being sent to every other jurisdiction around there for them to tell me that it's out of their jurisdiction. I have to go to the state troopers for the state troopers office to send me back to Nebraska State, or send me back to Scott DaCosta. So I literally have to turn in the sheriff to himself, and he gets to decide whether or not I am able to take him to court or press charges against him. Now, how wrong is that?
Yeah.
I did what mandated reporters
Where are
that
you
I was
right
sent
now?
to. I'm in Tillamook, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
I had to flee Nebraska because no mandated reporter would do their job there. I have literally thousands of phone calls made. When you're a homeless and disabled male, people are not good to you. When you're painted as some sort of super psycho stalker killer on the internet, yeah, people are not nice to you. And people in real life are the people watching the internet. Everybody that I know is on the internet. Everybody that I know is on Facebook and YouTube and all of this stuff all the time. And yes, many people recognize me from those YouTube web sleuth groups. Meanwhile, everything that they're allowed to do to me as an at-risk adult, I'm not allowed to do. It's somehow magically wrong if I do it. So the problem is that I was forced into homelessness because I followed instructions on trying to get help stopping the abuse, and it cost me every bit of my disability money and put me in a situation where I had to depend on drug dealers, drug addicts, and other assorted predators for help, and obviously they're not going to help. Every jurisdiction I go to, I'm bullied into going to another jurisdiction. That's what all police agencies do. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're totally fine. I just want to make sure I'm hearing you and getting all the information.
Yes, ma'am. Anyway, in 2016, I left Virginia to get away from a girl named Natalie Bollinger who was on drugs. Now, she pretended like I stalked her to Virginia. All the evidence that I have
Oh, wow.
shows that I didn't. All the evidence shows that I was her friend and she was my friend. She thought she was in love with me, which is insane because I'm old and ugly. Anyway, when I left Virginia, that should have been the end of it. I drove 1,700 miles to get away from her. But I knew her from Boulder, Colorado, and that's where my home was. So she called some mutual friends there and claimed that I was threatening to kill her family and shit like that. Well, then that turned, well, all right. Natalie claimed that I stalked her, and I have the evidence that that's not the truth. Alicia Bollinger claimed that I threatened to kill her and her family to Maddie Boa, and I got proof that that's not the truth. But that didn't matter. That was enough for Maddie Boa and her little druggie buddies to make it so I couldn't see my friends and family. And as an autistic person, having a support network is important. Those people keep me safe. And when I can't even go see them because people are assaulting me before I get to them, it hurts. And when I'm forced to move repeatedly and I'm sexually assaulted and physically assaulted and all sorts of other cruelty like that, it's just not okay. Anyway, I tried to turn the situation in 2000 and in January of 2017 about the abuse. Instead of doing their jobs as mandated reporters, they took me to the hospital and tried putting me on suicide watch. I was there for less than 2 hours, and I was sent to Nicole Peralta and a woman named Tamara, who were supposed to be my caseworker and my mental health specialist.
Sounds like you've really been through, a lot of experiences and tried so many different avenues and aren't able to get the help and the things that you're, wanting to happen.
You're right, but what I'm trying to tell you is that it's because of my disabilities that I'm being deprived of the rights of a disabled person. It's also because of my intelligence that I'm denied the rights of an intelligent person. Our rights are supposed to overlap.
People would treat you that way. It's not right.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that Leslie Snell took part in, her husband and her brother-in-law and their friend Chris Kurth took part in threatening my life on more than one occasion, along with Scott DaCosta and his gaslighting. He's the sheriff. Later on, Clint Snell's wife, Leslie Snell, her twin sister's name is Lynn. Leslie Snell started working for the Dual County Sheriff's Department. Now, I was sent by the state troopers for 18 months. They kept sending me back to Scott DaCosta to turn himself in. And then they told me that they can't investigate themselves. I have to turn them in to the state police. The state police wouldn't do it. They said that I had to go back to Scott DaCosta. This happened for 18 months. All 18 months I had to take abuse, and I was forced to turn that abuse into Scott DaCosta with him knowing that I'm trying to turn him in. They finally, the Nebraska State Troopers admitted that it is their job to investigate it, and they set up an appointment to investigate it, to come and get the evidence in person, which they should have done to begin with 18 months earlier. And they also said that they were going to call me before they showed up. Well, they never made that call. In the meantime, I got assaulted by a guy named Robert Franklin Warnick, who is a registered sex offender. Now, I had to go back to the Dual County Sheriff's Department to try to turn in that sex offender. But the Dual County Sheriff's Department won't investigate crimes because I'm trying to turn them in, too. I mean, they got my friend Natalie killed because they just wanted to blow me off, tell me that they had real police work to do, and that I just needed to man up. Now, a month before I was assaulted by Robert Franklin Warnick, after over 18 months of trying to turn in Scott DaCosta, and the state troopers, Nebraska State Patrol Troop E, finally decided that it is their job, and they claimed that they were going to come see me. They didn't say that they were going to do that until after I was assaulted by Scott DaCosta for trying to turn him in. It was literally an entire night of me calling Nebraska State Patrol, and Nebraska State Patrol saying we can't police the police. that I needed to call up the sheriff's department in Dual County. I called up the sheriff's department in Dual County. Sheriff's department in Dual County said, we can't investigate ourselves. You have to go to the state police. I went to the state police. They sent me back to Dual County. Dual County sent me back to the state police over 40 times. And then they finally said, all right, we're going to send out a state trooper so that you can turn this in. We understand that you're afraid of the Sheriff Scott DaCosta. And then Sheriff Scott DaCosta is the one that showed up at the door and was beating on it and yelling at me and intimidating me. And I have it all recorded. The problem is that I don't have easy internet access. And with my physical disabilities, I can't walk in and out of anywhere with a backpack on with electronic equipment. It exhausts me. I will be stuck in my car, unable to walk for days sometimes.
It sounds like you've tried so many options and you're just running into so many dead ends.
Well, I'm trying to turn this stuff into every mandated reporter that I can, but they end up talking over me and telling me it's not their job or they don't know who to turn it into. And the fact is that I can't defend myself, and that's what all of these agencies are preying on. I can't defend myself. I can't take care of myself. A lot of times, I'm not sure if you can hear the traffic behind me sometimes while I'm talking. If my voice gets louder, it's probably because of traffic, not because I'm angry. I'm stuck in public.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. There's also the fact that a lot of times I end up getting talked over with a lot of that we're sorry stuff, and that just throws a cog in the works. For somebody who's autistic, who's trying to explain what's going on, you don't have to tell them the sweet stuff that you tell to a kid to try to get them to open up. We're already trying to open up, and every one of those things that you would say to a kid just ends up coming out as condescending.
So I can see that, yeah.
Exactly. So the biggest issue that I have is that as a homeless person, having to go in alone and trying to turn these crimes in, I just get disrespected as if I'm some crazy junkie out here. I can't go to the hospital as a homeless person because they're going to assume that I'm a junkie. I can't go to the police because they're just going to assume that I'm a junkie. So if I'm victimized by junkies out on the street, who do I go to?
Right, because no one's taking you seriously.
And I'm not supposed to use the word junkie. I'm supposed to say addict, but addicts are trying to get help, you know? So I do make a distinction. The problem is, as an at-risk and disabled adult, I can't defend myself. I literally cannot physically defend myself, and I can't mentally take care of myself anymore because of systemic abuse. All of these phone calls to be turned away every time, and I have to pay people the majority of my disability money to try to get help so that I can keep my disability money. And I have to start that 2 months ahead of time because I have to basically filter through a bunch of meth addicts to try to get help because I can't go to any of the services to try to get help because they didn't do their jobs as mandated reporters, and no, I'm trying to turn them in. They'll give me the paperwork and shove me out the door. Meanwhile, I can't function because I'm stuck in public. Can you hear that squealing behind me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can.
stuff like that derails the train. It makes it so I can't speak, so I can't comprehend what's going on. The same with when I'm trying to explain something and someone starts talking over me or inferring that things happened that didn't, or that, you know, I don't know what I'm talking about, or talking down to me like I'm an idiot. I'm stuck in public now.
That would have been fun, but I can see how it would be, you know, like more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you know, it would be more like demeaning or, you know, whatever it may be, or offending, just because you've been through the ringer so many times, and, you know, you've just been pushed around and nothing ever good seems to come out of it. So
well, Scott DaCosta,
you know, that it's even worse.
Scott DaCosta committed a lot of felonies to try to prevent me from turning him in. The assault the night that I was trying to turn him in, as well as repeatedly helping people who had... All right. Do you have access to a computer where you can look something up? If you look up the word Natalie Bollinger, you'll get to see my name.
Okay.
She was my best friend and she was killed.
I believe you, yeah.
Also, the sheriff here, Rick Rayborn, or sorry, not Rick Rayborn. He's the sheriff in or former sheriff in Arapahoe County, Nebraska, or Colorado. I'm sorry about that. That's one of the things that sucks about this being in so many different states, is that I have to try to say the right place at the right time. I have to make calls to Nebraska. I have to make calls to Washington State. I have to make calls here in Oregon, and I have to keep it all straight in my head. And that's the problem, is that there's too much of it. It's not that I'm crazy. It's not that I'm just rambling. It's that there's too much. No human being could possibly go through this.
I mean, that's understandable. I mean, a person can only take so much.
I agree. Anyway, when mandated reporters break the law, who do I turn it into? And as an at-risk and disabled adult, who I literally can't do the paperwork because I'm stuck in public. The library is still public. Anywhere where the public has access to me, I have to be afraid. I also have evidence of why. If it's not people bullying me, then it's, people taking advantage of me. If it's not people taking advantage of me, it's people that are scared because I'm stimming as an autistic person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what do you feel would be a good, resolution for today? Like, what can I do to help make sure that this is kind of, resolved, or at least that something is kind of in the works?
Well, ma'am, I would like to tell you about some of my experience with Suicide Hotline. That I've had friends before that committed suicide after calling you guys, and the first thing they did is bitch on Facebook. Now, from personal experience in calling Suicide Hotline in 988, it feels like getting brushed off, like getting blown over. We don't need people to be agreeable. We need people to listen. And a lot of times people want to say those things that make it agreeable. Oh, I believe you. I'm sorry that happened. It must be incredibly difficult, things like that. I grew up in the system. So, I know all that psychobabble, and I'm not trying to insult you by calling it that. That's what it ends up being, though, after years and years of it. A lot of people think that pretty sayings or pretty words are going to fix the situation. But when a person is being abused and they're sent to a place like 988, so that hopefully 988 will do their job as a mandated reporter, and they end up doing the same things everybody else does, which is trying to defer you, trying to get you to go to a place that you've already been, trying to infer that they're not able to do their job as a mandated reporter, or that they're not mandated reporters, or that it's only for if a person is a child or an elderly person. And disabled people are on that list as well. We're the most likely to be abused. We're also the most likely people to endure systemic abuse. Now, most of that is because a lot of us are low functioning. I'm not. Low functioning people may not have the wherewithal within themselves to know that they should probably record situations so they have evidence. But I'm not an idiot, so I record everything. The problem is that I'm not allowed to show any of it in court because of the mentally ill tag. I'm autistic, not mentally ill.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference for sure.
Now, police officers, by pawning me off on mental health, are insinuating that I am mentally ill. They're not allowed to do that. When I make a report, they're supposed to allow me to make a report, not try to talk me out of it or talk over me. I've been refused the right to make paper reports. And then after a long period of that, of them telling me, oh, well, you just tell me and I'll decide if it's illegal. Or they say, oh, well, we'll write it down. They jot down a couple of notes and put their pad in their pocket and stop listening. That is preventable by having a friend or family member go in with me. But I don't have that. When somebody calls Suicide Hotline, instead of saying, all right, well, are you thinking about hurting yourself or others? Understand those are trick questions that only harm the victim. Most of the time, the people that are going to call you are either youngins who are being physically assaulted or sexually assaulted, or adults who are being physically or sexually assaulted. There's also a lot of people that are going to get a hold of you that are being financially abused. I'm being abused in all of those ways.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have not been physically sexually assaulted since I was in the prison in Lincoln. And I am not a convicted felon. I wasn't even charged with felonies. I was charged with misdemeanors by Scott DaCosta, his coworker, or his, what do you call her, receptionist, Leslie Snell, her husband, Carl Snell, or no, Clint Snell, sorry. And a guy who was supposed to investigate Natalie's situation when she was killed. His name is William Barr. I was trying to turn all four of them, William Barr. Well, the four main people I was trying to turn in was Sheriff Scott DaCosta, his receptionist Leslie Snell, former Denver officer William Barr, and who was the other one? Registered sex offender Robert Franklin Warnick. So they all worked together to have me put in prison so that I couldn't turn them in. I also wasn't allowed to go to 2 civil court dates. One of them against Leslie Snell got against me. I was served with the papers in transit to prison. And then I wasn't allowed to get a hold of anybody, including my own public defender, for almost 40 days. So they had court without me, and that's against the law.